Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and today I want to talk about a mechanic which is probably one of my biggest bugbears in Total War Warhammer, and it's one of these things that I really hope get fixed up, not only for the benefit of Warhammer, but future Total War titles too, and I'm of course talking about the vassal system. You see, with a number of different factions in Warhammer 3, you're incentivized to pick up some vassals. These are factions which are going to be subservient to you, generally providing you with some benefits like being able to get more replenishment around those areas, a little bit of tribute per turn, and in some case they will go to war, but that's pretty rare. And you see, the vassals are supposed to do quite a lot of things. If you go onto the Total War Warhammer wiki, which is on screen right now, you can see, they've got vision, tribute, those things they actually do. When it comes to warfare, they don't generally do anything. Now that's kind of by design because vassals can't declare war on their own right. They have to wait for their owner faction to be able to do that. But when you are at war, even using war coordination, it feels like it just doesn't work. Or they'll send a stupidly weak army and get absolutely destroyed very early on. So there's a lot that I want to talk about today, because I feel like this system could be improved, and it's really important that not only for Warhammer, but for future systems, I rather see this actually done and fixed up, rather than what Creative Assembly have sadly been doing over the years, which is just kind of getting rid of mechanics. But before anything, let's talk about our regular sponsor, Instant Gaming. Instant Gaming is a platform where you'll be able to pick up games at discounted rates all year round for PC, PlayStation, Xbox, and even Nintendo too. Yeah, gaming is expensive nowadays, and finally, after a very few years, developers are starting to release more and more titles. Most of them not great, but some of them have become quite good, like Space Marine 2, for example, and there's a lot of DLCs, like for Hearts of Iron, if you're a big Paradox fan like I am. Those are DLC farms, so if you want to keep up with all the new content, you might as well get it discounted. I recently picked up Stalker 2, for example, because I've been quite hyped up for that, but, right now money's a bit tight because I'm preparing for Christmas, so a 21% discount is pretty damn good. Not only that, but we do have our monthly giveaway going on, which is win a game of your choice. All you have to do is click on the link in the description below and sign up, then you can participate. You don't even have to buy a game, and you can choose any game that is out there. I've seen what people have been picking up, and there's some quite interesting titles there, so it's pretty cool. Instant Gaming is a service that I've been using for a number of years myself, so I'm very happy to promote them on the channel and have them as a regular sponsor. And with that, let's return to our regular scheduled programming. So there are two types of vassals, and we're going to talk about both. The first one is the rare case, and this one's the one attached to Nakai, the Wanderer, the Defenders of the Great Plan, which, yeah, they do nothing. Well, they give you money, but that's pretty much it. As Nakai is a horde faction, you have no access to settlements, instead giving it to the Defenders of the Great Plan and getting 3 different types of special settlements from them, which will give you bonuses. The problem here is that you're going to be expanding, and you're going to have to leave armies at your border to protect yourself, especially in higher difficulties. Not so much in the lower difficulty settings, because you won't be getting dogpiled on too much. Player bias is still a thing though. But as you get into warfare with other factions, yeah, your vassals are also going to be jumped into that war, which means that you are kind of screwed. Your benefits come from them and you have to babysit them. And sure, you can get them an army via a right, but it doesn't replenish, and that's it. That's the only activity that this faction actually has. There is a mod on the workshop which actually makes the Defenders of the Great Plan an active faction, and it makes the campaign a lot better. The fix here would be just make them a normal vassal, give them the special settlements still, but allow them to be able to build up some stuff and allow them to be a little bit more active. Sure, it's still not going to fix the grand issue, and that's going to be something that we're going to be talking about now, but every little bit helps. Just wanted to get Nakai out of the way very quickly. Now, there are a lot of races can actually take up vassals. The most well-known ones are like the Warriors of Chaos, for example, but the Vampire Counts can too, and a few others. It's something that you kinda see, and in most cases you will interact with. But the general consensus that I've been getting when asking around is a lot of people will not use vassals unless they actually have to. So yeah, the Warriors of Chaos have to, which kind of incentivizes you to have the vassals anyway. For example, if you're playing as one of the monogod style Warriors of Chaos, your vassals will start spreading corruption of that specific type, and they'll get some bonuses to make them feel more like, if it's Valkyria getting a vassal, those will have frenzy, so they'll feel more Cornish, right? Or Sineshi if you're playing a Sigvald or a Zazel, because they'll then have access to immune to psychology. The corruption bonus is good, because this means that if you're moving around their territories, which in most cases you will, because you're kind of sharing those territories, you're going to be able to have a better chance of picking up marked Chaos Warriors, thus saving a little bit more money, and some of the marked monsters or whatever. But let's talk about the campaigns as a Warriors of Chaos faction. So, you'll take over your first settlement, and then you'll instantly get access to a vassal. This is a faction which is right next to you, and generally has 1 or 2 settlements depending on the minor faction it is. In most cases, depending on the faction itself, you'll have access to the direct benefits there. So, because your vassal has the 2 settlements out of the 3, you can then get your province-wide bonuses. And because your vassal is kind of like an alliance, let's not really call it anything else, you'll have access to the alliance tab, which means that, yeah, you've got the usual stuff: war coordination, defend target, capture settlement, an outpost, which, yeah, I mean, kind of works for the Warriors of Chaos, because you could get some mammoths, but that's pretty much it. As you can see, it's an alliance tab. It's not really a vassal tab. It's nothing. You'll get missions and you can request armies too, but at the end of the day, it's nothing really special when you've already been used to this system, and in most cases, people actually just ignore the alliance tab. I do know people like to use the outpost system, which is quite good, especially as you'll be able to pick up some units from that, but it's very much dependent on the enemy too, because maybe your vassal or your ally gets attacked and you've just wasted all that money for nothing. Now, your vassal doesn't go pure brain dead as soon as you take it over. It will still act independently. It just feels very slow. So these vassals themselves are supposed to start going in to attack the Dark Elves of Grond, but they take their precious time. I know this is a Total War AI because Warscape Engine is not really the best, but in most cases, yeah, you won't see them actually moving for a while, despite the fact that they've got an active enemy that they can easily go and take right now. They've got a decent-sized army, and if they went there now, they could take it over. The problem is, I've now picked up another settlement, for example, for them, and have gifted it to them. They've now decided to go to that settlement instead, possibly to protect it, but that's the limit of their movement for the next 12 turns or so. You can see where the frustration comes from. You're babysitting another faction, you're not really getting that many benefits from them, because let's be honest, they don't provide that much cash, and you need to keep looking at them. You want to throw out allegiance points to tell them to attack a target. In most cases, they will kind of ignore it too. I've seen that many times during live streams. And even then, you've got benefits that could naturally help them. There's stuff that pops up every now and then, which allows them to get population surplus for free. But in some cases, it does feel like it just completely gets ignored by the AI itself for another few turns. Not sure why, but this means that the army itself, the minor faction that you've got vassalized, does stay with low-tier troops for a lot longer than any other faction would in-game. And look, just like clockwork, 10 turns later, like I said, it's moving, but it's going to die, because it decided to take its sweet-ass time to go down to this settlement. There's a pretty big Dark Elf contingent down there. I do believe that the Dark Elf army also had 2 heroes in there, and the Norscan army is pretty crap. So, what's going to happen? It's just going to die. And that means that your area is now exposed. Thankfully, I can actually, peace out with these Dark Elves because they don't want to fight me. But this is a army that you've been dealing with since the very beginning. And you would expect a minor faction, which doesn't really have to deal with any other enemies, to focus its attention to the enemy which is exposed at the moment, like a normal AI would when trying to fight you. Again, in some cases not so much because Total War AI, but you get what I mean. It's deeply flawed and could do with another look over, especially since we've been getting some pretty good patches lately. A stylized vassal system which would incentivize you not only to play Warriors of Chaos or Nakai, but maybe even the vampire counts too, because yeah, they can pick up the humans as vassals, which obviously makes a lot of sense lore-wise. But not only that, I'm looking towards the future. If we do get a Total War 40k, vassal systems would be kind of expected, especially if you're playing as the Ultramarines and Ultramar and stuff, or Medieval 3. It's about time we started getting a little bit more intrigue at court with Total War, because stuff like this is quite important, and you'd be leading some vassals into war. Having them more active and not being so stupid would be at the benefit of the Total War players who just want Total War to keep evolving rather than devolving. And I do have some examples here from another game which could kind of help. Crusader Kings 3 is a game that I've been playing a lot lately. They've had some recent DLC, and they've got some really cool mods, like the Game of Thrones mod, or the Warcraft mod is really up my alley. So I've been playing it a lot, and I've realized that their vassal system is really damn good. Now, I've spoken about this briefly in the past, but I wanted to do a dedicated video because the more I've been playing it, the more I've been going, well, they could do something like this, not copy it outright, but there could be some systems here just to make the game a lot better when it comes to vassal systems, which, yes, not the most important mechanic, but it does show up often. The first thing is being able to gift multiple buildings, settlements and stuff. One thing that Total War does really badly is it has to be right next to it, and it has to be one by one. Why can't we give them in groups of 2 or 3 or 4? That's really important, especially when you're dealing with Warriors of Chaos, where you might have access to a lot of settlements that you don't really want to use, and you'll want to give it away to another faction so you can have them there building up and getting some benefits from it. And I'm not just saying Warriors of Chaos, this could be literally anyone. When it comes to the back end of the vassal system, you've got stuff like feudal taxes or feudal levies. There's a lot of stuff here, but I'm not saying copy-paste this outright because, the whole war declaration thing or title preservation, that doesn't really work for Total War, but feudal taxes and feudal levies could work quite well. A slider for the taxes, which would mean that you'd get more cash coming in or less cash coming in, but it would provide better benefits to you or to your vassal. If you've got more cash coming in, that means it's less for them, which means that they'll like you less and there could be a chance of a rebellion. But if you're giving them less taxes, they'll like you a lot more, and they'll be able to promote and provide for themselves, being a little bit more active. Feudal levies could work in a similar way. The more that you have them, well, the more of a chance of a rebellion, but the less means that they'll like you more. And what could be done here is literally just like a recruitment system, like the mercenary system right now, or even with the other standard Warriors of Chaos stuff, where there's a chance of one of the units that they have access to being able to be recruited directly, right? There'd be a hard limit per vassal, and that could work in a benefit there, so that means that you could pick up more mammoths, or maybe some skin wolves. I'm using the Warriors of Chaos as an example here, because I was recently playing the Warriors of Chaos, but the idea here is having access to a fair amount of different units through a mercenary system, very similar to the Ogres right now, or even just how the Warriors of Chaos are able to recruit demons. And finally, there is Directives. So Directives is something that I think came fairly recently, or I've just never noticed it until I started playing with Roads to Power. But you can direct your vassals with certain things, focusing on converting faith, promoting culture, improving cultural acceptance, constructing certain types of buildings, and so on, right? Now, obviously, this wouldn't really work too well when it comes to Total War, but you could have them focusing on warfare, focusing on defense, or just have them standard acting on their own volition. It's something that kind of exists already, which is the whole defend target, attack target, capture target, but rather than just being one by one, which would then lead them to mostly ignoring those plans or sending suicide squads out, this could be done in such a way which then could focus on improving the AI to focus on warfare, to focus on recruiting troops and pushing out, or focus on defense, focus on building up some defensive structures, maybe having a little bit of a patrol in the areas. You know what I mean here. One thing is they don't have to be identical to Crusader Kings because they are two completely vastly different games, but there are similarities, and I think that that's something that could be kind of inspired by. It's not out of the question. I've spoken to a bunch of modders, and it would improve the vassal system quite dramatically. So this idea kind of came on because I've been playing Wars of Chaos recently and vampire counts, and I like to have vassals. It's a bit of a roleplay campaign type of thing, right? And with the vassals being god-awful, there's no reason to have them. With the vampire counts, you can pretty much do without having vassals. With the Warriors of Chaos, you kind of need them, because they'll be providing a lot of money towards you, but the system is quite flawed, especially with gifting settlements and so on. I'm hoping Creative Assembly do look at this system again. I'm not sure if they've stated publicly that they want to or whatever. They've been stating a lot of things publicly, but, you know, right now I'm imagining they're busy with the DLC, and that's obviously more important right now. But in the future, you know, in a 6.1 or 6.2, something like this would be really great to see. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Let's start a bit of a discussion. It's just one of these things that just bugs me, and I really want to see it fixed because I feel like the game would be better for it. I want to see more systems being fixed. They've implemented some fun stuff with the ogres recently, the whole bounties and stuff, but I want to see more for everyone else. The Warriors of Chaos are functionally perfect, barring just the vassal system. If that was implemented, they'd be kinda sorted, barring extra units that they might get in this coming DLC and the one after if the next one is Sinesh, and I'm hoping so. But yeah, have a great day guys, and I'll see you all again very, very soon.